Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the TEACh Cincinnati Funders Panel. I am one of the co-facilitators. My name is Krystal Tipton. I am the Senior Director of Development for the College of Education, Health, and Society. I have the opportunity to work with several of our key partners as well as our Miami alums to share the great work that is happening with TEACh. We have some incredible partners here with us today to serve on the panel. These individuals certainly continue to share the vision of TEACh as well as champion the mission of what's going on. As you guys know, TEACh is not only changing lives, but it's also reshaping the future of education by building this pipeline of talented, diverse educators. The progress that we made certainly would not be possible without the leadership, the generosity, the belief of our partners. So with that said, I will have the pleasure of introducing each of them, and I'll start with Paige Lindy. She is the Chief of Staff and Operations at Accelerate Great Schools. Accelerate Great Schools is one of our key partners as they have funded our campus-based coordinator role, which Sydney now serves in. As you heard from her, she is doing some fantastic work with meeting with our students, providing mentorship, as they navigate campus life and continue to achieve academic success. Next, we have Janet McMillan. She is one of our dedicated supporters of TEACh. Janet certainly understands what the future of education looks like in the workforce. She has also co-hosted one of EHS alumni events where we highlighted TEACh and shared the important work that's happening there. And then we have Dr. Loren May. He is a retired superintendent. He is also the chair of the EHS Advisory Council member. Loren has certainly understand, the work that's happening with TEACh as we're addressing the teacher shortage. He continues to be an advocate, a voice. As he serves on the council, he continues to promote what this looks like as far as with sustainability. And then now I'm going to hand it over to my the other co-facilitator, Kevin Kushman. He is the CEO of Electrada. One thing I will say, Kevin has a deep passion for education. He is leading educational efforts around literacy and outcomes across the Cincinnati region. Just in 2022, he helped and partner and launch Queen City Book Bank. If you've heard of it, if you've been there, it's a fantastic place that serves as a hub for K-6 literacy for our students and our families. Kevin also has been played an instrumental role for TEACh. He served on the TEACh task force and has led the leadership and strategy for this program. So I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Krystal. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And first of all, to point back to the last panel in the last session, guys, that was awesome. All the students that presented, everybody that shared their feelings about good, the bad, how things are progressing, could not say there were better ambassadors for this program, and so proud of where you guys are. So thank you, and Sydney and Brian, everybody who's created that culture where everybody's sharing all their experiences. I think I look at the new students joining and it's like, okay, I get this, I got this, I can do it because you guys are doing it. So that is super, super powerful. Thank you for that. Everything we talk about in this session, I think, around money, how we sustain the program, how we go find new funding, is because we want to amplify your voices. So it has to work for you, and it has to work for every cohort that follows you. So think about this conversation and open your thoughts, minds, questions about how can we take this $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million that it takes to run this year in and year out and turn it into a well-structured, sustainable, visibly funded pathway forward, and then find the right homes and sponsors to make sure that that happens. So we're not scrambling. You guys should never have to worry about, oh, is this going to be gone my junior year? Is it going to be gone my senior year? Should the next 3 or 4 years is going to look different than this one does? So the building blocks you guys are there to help establish. We deserve more of you guys to spread the word. So thank you. First of all, I'll just open with a question, and anybody on the panel can answer. Why, given what TEACh is now and what it's becoming, it's kind of a new education venture in a way, why is this an investable thing for anyone thinking about philanthropy, or why is this the way it's been put together? Why should this gather outsized attention and then funding that might be a little different than what philanthropy has funded before. And maybe Paige, since you're in that zone, you mind starting?
Thank you so much for having me. I want to echo congratulations to the students that were up here before, and thank you for sharing your journey and for doing the work that you do. So I'm Paige Lindy. I work at Accelerate Great Schools. Just very briefly, we're a nonprofit organization in Cincinnati. We exist to increase the number of high-quality schools in the city, specifically so they can be available to students who are traditionally underserved and might not have access to high-quality school options. To do that, we partner across sectors. We work with Cincinnati Public Schools and other districts. We work with Catholic schools. We also work with nonprofit charter schools. And the only thing we're looking for across those sectors is high quality and demand from the local community. And as we think about that work, you cannot have a great school without great talent. It just isn't possible. And we, to support our work, also make investments in the talent space and are looking for what works, what's been proven to work, and also what programs are leveraging data to solve old challenges in new ways. And so we're very excited to learn and to partner with the work that Miami and others are doing for the TEACh program. So I think when we first started learning about the program, a couple things that stood out were early engagement of students and exposure to the possibilities of being an educator. I think, unfortunately, across various sectors, there are efforts to solve problems too late and to come in at the last minute or to try to step in when it's just not going to have the impact you want. So Miami, the TEACh program, to start with middle schoolers or high schoolers and to engage students, I think, is incredibly unique. But then to have the staying power to diligently and authentically engage with students through that experience, to taking early college courses, to having experiences on college campuses, and then to understanding and meeting the needs of students. And I think Sydney's a great example of this, to say, what will students really need to be successful? We're not just going to do this program, we're going to do it well. We're going to gather data, we're going to identify pain points, we will adjust. I think all of those are elements of the program that can allow philanthropic organizations to take notice and to want to and to be able to be part of the program. I will also say one thing that I don't know that I was expecting, but I've just seen come alive today, has been the culture and community that's been created through the program and the leadership development of the program. And I think those are always aspirations of programs that you don't see come to light. I think that's a truly unique and valuable aspect that we take note of.
You know the phrase, great schools make great communities, and this is a perfect example, and just really was shining a light on, and I think someone even said, they shone a light on me. Didn't you say that about your teacher? And I was like, we need to make this light bigger with Cincinnati, because it is a wonderful city, but perhaps to get in a bigger stage of highlighting educators, because I don't care what field you go into, you need great teachers. And to be able to highlight the importance of TEACh and developing incredible teachers to go back into the CPS community is really what we need to do. But really, I think also, like we even also heard the different kind of teachers that this program's developing, you know, rather than being just siloed, like I'm an elementary teacher, but there's so many ways that we can be teachers.
I don't see, excuse me, I don't see Tammy Schwartz in here, but she's probably in a different meeting. But I often say to her, she runs the cohort, the urban cohort. Tammy, if I was still a superintendent, I'd be down and I'd steal all of your students and take you to Chicago. I'll say the same to all of you. I'd take you to Chicago. Now, I probably shouldn't say that in Cincinnati, okay? That might not go over well, but that's how I feel. You guys did an outstanding job today, and I'm sitting back there saying, those are the type of people, those are the type of students, the commitment that we want in classrooms today. And so, bravo to all of you, bravi, okay? You did an excellent job. You should be very proud. The other thing I would simply say is, and I think one of your questions, Kevin, was, why should we invest in that? I'd ask a different question, how could we not? I think that this type of a program, and again, one of the things I think that makes this unique is the structure that's been built. It starts 8th grade, freshman, sophomore. Not every student is going to be a teacher, okay? But you're going to build a cadre of strong, supportive individuals. And teaching is tough. It's a hard job, okay? People always used to say, well, you know, if you can't do something else, you can teach. Wrong. It is a tough profession. It is sometimes a lonely profession. But one of the things that you've started to build here is that compadre, the ability to work together. You see the value of collaboration. Those are things that tend to improve all of us and make us stronger and better in what we do. So again, how could we not support such an effort? Because the structure is there. Starting, as I said, early in your high school experience, and then following that through once you get to the university, the support and dedication of professors and support staff are critical, and you've acknowledged that. So that would be my thought. Anybody want to go to Chicago? Oh.
Please disregard that prior comment. I think, so first of all, thank you. What makes this investable is it's obvious meeting a need, meeting a gap. We have a chronic teacher shortage. No district is immune from it, but of course, areas of most disadvantage feel it the most heavily. Maybe thoughts about what makes this approach. There are other teacher pipeline programs that have been started in the past that continue. What's unique about TEACh specifically that should mean it should be more sustainable? It could be a model that grows beyond Cincinnati that could impact other parts of the state, and therefore the mission of this panel is how do we elevate its message and its exposure so other people say this is exactly how we should be addressing this program. Who should we be influencing? Who should we be putting our arms around from the school district side, others? How do we make sure that its uniqueness shines through versus other things that may have seen in the past that may have had mixed results?
Well, I'll go back to what I said just a moment ago, and I think that is the structure has to be right. If the structure isn't right, it will not carry over time. It simply will, a person leaves, a student leaves, whatever it might be, if we don't have the structure in place. And I think the students talked about this, again, very well this morning. Without a structure in place, most programs are not successful. So if we're going to export this, export the entire program. If you don't, I don't think that over time it would be successful. Organizations, I think, like to see that type of structure, because in business or whatever you happen to be in, if there's not that structure, not that support, it will rely on one or two individuals, and if they leave, the program goes down. So bravo to my alma mater for building this, I think, the correct way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the model, and just hearing about it a few years ago to where it is today, it's so solid. And I was just thinking back in the schools and with the junior highs, if we can make it a program that people like, oh, did you get asked? Did someone tell you about the TEACh program? Do you want more information? Like, make it like such a buzzword, like, this is the most incredible opportunity. See if you can find out about it. I think that's the kind of buzz that we need at all the schools, that it's, you know, just one of the top opportunities they can take and make it real for them. You know, there's a lot of opportunities kids are thinking about, like maybe being, you know, in the NFL player. It's probably not as reasonable, except for one or two. But I would love for this to be the buzzword around the schools.
I can't speak to exporting the program, but I do want to touch on what I think the TEACh program is doing in Cincinnati that is unique. And I think that includes bringing together various stakeholders to support the program to be successful. It's so exciting to be in the space today, to have high school students, college faculty, Cincinnati State, Cincinnati Public Schools. All the funders are, I think, deeply engaged. And I think kudos to the Miami team, because I know that takes work and that takes thoughtful consideration. But I do think it's not just a build a standalone program. I think structures matter a lot, and maybe part of that structure is the stakeholders that are rallied around the program to help it not only be successful, but see the success and then share those success stories that will then fuel people talking about it more and more. So I would say unique is the ability to engage various stakeholders.
That's a great comment, Paige, and I think it goes to the credit of the Miami team, as you mentioned, to weave together this ecosystem of source of students from leading men's fellowship to Cincinnati State to the high schools enrolled. It is very unique in that regard. So how in this environment for school and educational funding is kind of all up in the air, a lot of plates spinning right now, federal level, state level. We know there are budget gaps, not just CPS, but every district is trying to bridge a budget gap. Teacher funding, recruitment, retention, sustainability, development. How do we make this a pillar of that strategy? And is the funding model currently available to schools the right model to think about the ultimate landing place for TEACh from a funding perspective? Just thinking about the resources we're going to need to make sure this never goes away, continues to grow. Is it right to expect the philanthropic community to always be that gap filler? Or should we be joining forces in a way that presents this as a systemic state level opportunity for funding? How do we bridge that gap? Because I think, Paige, you represent a fantastic sponsor of the program, and there's this group. How do we make sure that we don't keep going back to the same group over and over and over and expecting it to always be there, because pressures on those funding sources will always change. Thoughts about that while we're in the middle of this kind of fog zone in funding?
Well, I'm not sure it's as sustainable, because unless we get more funders, more people engaged, more people interested. But I do believe it will take the state level also, and because we are at such a difficult situation with this teacher shortage, and we need to fill the gap. This is an incredible program to help fill that gap. And like you said, is this program ready to go to other universities? We should only be so proud to be able to share that model, because we can't be the only fix. I think we can be a great, great fix and a model for other people, other universities across the state. But it will take a village to fill this gap. And the more people that know about it, if we have even from the state level that support system, it can help allow so many more students access to this, which we can't forget.
I agree. I think state funding and whatever federal funding there is, I think is incredibly important from a philanthropic perspective. I think many organizations want to be one of a partnership related to funding, and I think private and public partnership funding partnerships can be very successful and lead over long term to sustainability. I think it's a unique challenge because it is a long pipeline, right? That's part of the beauty of the program is it starts early and it grows, and we know it takes time to develop teachers. So I does make me wonder though, when we think about outcomes that the state might be looking for, will they be more excited when there are proof points that are in the classroom and show the TEACh students once they're in the classroom having an impact? Or are there lead indicators that exist that, you know, I'm making this up, but field placements and practicum? Are we able to start showing impact early, as early as possible to start engaging the state and other stakeholders around the impact of this program? I think everyone is excited to have incredible individuals excited about teaching. That is wonderful. And then I think the second half of the story and the data collection is what's the impact in the classroom and how many of those people are staying in teaching. And I know we can't get there yet. And so it does make me wonder again about what lead indicators might exist that the state might already be wrestling with or engaging in that this program could provide data points for.
I may be a little bit of a downer on this question. I do not, well, going back as a superintendent for the 15 years, I did not see the state of Illinois or other states that I have worked with up front on supporting education. In fact, if you look at it from a political standpoint, education has kind of taken some hard knocks probably over the last 20 to so years. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't keep moving in that direction, because we must. On the other hand, I look at people that want to support education, and there are a lot out there, areas that we have to use to bridge that gap. Politics are strange. They come, they go, okay. Priorities change. Look at in the last 3 to 4 years, or even this year, the change at the national and at the state level. So I don't want to, how should I say this, miss individuals or organizations that still know that education is critical. I think they have to help serve as a bridge, but I don't see in the short term anyhow states moving in a direction that I think they should and must. They can complain about teacher shortage, they can complain about curriculum, all of that stuff. But that's complaints. That's not being proactive, that's not being positive, that's not leading, that's following. So don't give up the fight. Elect good people that are committed to education and be supportive of those people. That will go a long way, but I don't think it's going to be an easy journey.
So, Loren, in that sense, painting the picture that although there may be some public funding support at some point, it might not always be predictable. How do we think about the folks like Paige's group and everyone else who's sponsored TEACh to this point? How do we think about keeping them engaged? Does this program compete with relative to education dollars in philanthropy? And how do we make sure those don't look like competitions, but they look like collaborations? How can the ecosystem for TEACh incorporate other initiatives that make it look like and truly deliver on an integrated approach to a region's education?
It's a good question, and I'll go back to something Paige said. This is still a results-driven business. We collectively, the students out there, the university, needs to constantly go back and rework and rethink and build off what are really very positive and very positive experiences, results. And so I think that, again, Cleveland State, Cincinnati State, in the work with Miami, that's a collaborative event that's starting to show some positive results. So I think there's going to be opportunities. I would hope that Cincinnati Public would build in a portion to keep all of these students together and have them, because as I said, teaching is A, hard, and B, sometimes it's lonely. So how do we build in staff development for once they're out of Miami to continue to encourage and support that? And I think organizations like Paige have a role to play in that, as well as probably CPS and Miami as well.
Loren, can I?
Yeah.
On that last piece, we actually do work with CPS currently on supporting and building a pathway for new teachers who are coming into the district, focused on reaching back to help individuals consider roles at CPS, apply on board, and then think about that first year of teaching. So how can the district help individuals be successful and feel that success and then be retained? I think it's a hugely important point as we think about the impact of the work, but also talking about the impact of the work. We want to be able to demonstrate that the incredible teachers that were created stay in the classroom and have an impact in the classroom. And so I think we're doing a tiny piece of that work now, but there's a lot more opportunity, certainly.
And could we work with marketing at Miami with our TEACh program to help get this more out in the news area with the newspapers, the news outlets? They need to hear more of these incredible positive stories. Just like listening to the panel earlier, or if you're at the urban cohort, like, it's incredible. And you're like, why aren't more of these positive things on the news? If something could go out so more people in the Cincinnati community, more of the business communities that we'd love to reach out for, could start reaching out and say, how can we partner? Yes, we need incredible teachers. We want people to move down to Cincinnati. We want these students to be our teachers of our kids, because they're moving into the community. But I do feel like we need to bump up a level of marketing this on a, bigger level in our city, so it'll be easier for us to share, hey, did you hear about?
Well, in that sense, because, and this is another maybe a wide open question and maybe an ask the audience question for our friends at CPS potentially to weigh in. When you're thinking about the investments we're making today and what we're asking to bridge today and for the next 4 years and for the students coming in now, the students that are here, your impact on CPS is going to be felt most notably in the 2030s and the 2040s. As your career takes off and you build that kind of support system, how do we position that as a generational investment that it is? Because it is. We're investing now for what will likely help support our community for decades beyond this. It's not instant gratification. And we can talk about the cohorts building, the numbers of students rolling in, the lack of attrition in the program, which is fantastic. Those are all easy markers to measure. How do we think about marketing and positioning and getting sustained funding for something that won't be felt truly in its community impact for 10 years, potentially? thoughts about that, or thoughts, Emily, or and how do we position this as invest now, reap the benefits of the investment over the next generation?
I'm happy to see you. Can you all hear me? Yes. Awesome. So CPS is kind of in that unique arena, right? I got the built-in one that I'll happily join here. We get to reap the benefits. We get to have our students be connected now with amazing educators, as we heard from the panel, those that inspired them while they were in high school all the way through now in their time in college. We have some that are rising seniors that I know are going to talk about the legacies that have impacted them. And then we get those students, hopefully, please come back, on the back end, to come back into our schools, having had really impactful experiences, hearing their own experiences. And so on our end, we're kind of in that crux where it's like, we ourselves are looking for funds to cover even our basics. And so the story, the investment that we do is being able to spread into the community through our opportunities and internships. When we have students taking internships opportunities, workforce opportunities out in the field, those individuals, when we're thinking about private endowments in a way, are looking and saying, wow, your students really are X, Y, and Z. And we can attribute it to teachers. And so we can say, we are building the educators of the future who are empowering these students to be able to come into your workforce. And navigating those conversations. But Brian and I talk about this often. How do we as a district use our voice? Where can we contribute? Where we have to make those difficult decisions as well. We have to be able to fund lifetime teachers in our classrooms. And so when we are kind of sharing those donor conversations, we're coming in with two lenses in mind. We're coming in with the lens of being able to have teachers of the future and being able to support this program while also still having teachers of today. And it's difficult. Brian and I talk about, it's not Title II. Is it Title? Yep, Title II funds. Luckily, he's gone higher than me, who has more decision-making in that. But it's where are the opportunities to invest within the investment? I don't have the right answer, but I do have the commitment that we will continue to speak to the impact and brilliance of this partnership and to be able to say lifetime through our experiences and through our students, where can we ourselves pull the heavy lift? So it's not just on Miami University and those conversations, but I don't want to put you on the spot, Dr. Smith, because you also sit a little higher than me and get to have more intimate of those conversations.
Is retiring, is Dr. Isidore. He's over our fine arts, and we were at his event last night. And as she's talking and you guys are talking, I'm thinking about there was a man there that donated money, tons of money every year. And he basically said he did that because he saw a video of him teaching the kids jazz. And he said, and the more he watched it, the more he fell in love with what he was doing. And every year he gave more and more money till now he's funding this program for our district. So as you guys were talking, I was thinking, how do we tell our story to those people, right? We're here with these young people and I feel so inspired, right? I think about my first teaching job. I'm going back to those kids who are now 40-something years old. And I think that first group I taught, I want to go back and say, I'm sorry. I did the best I could that first year, so don't hold it to me. So I think about how do we tell that story? How do we make these amazing videos full of the passion and the love and the commitment? And who do we put them in front of? And what is our marketing for this? And how do we make this so prevalent that everybody's like, how do I become a part of this? Even though it is 10 years down the road, I see the vision. I see how these young people are going to impact other young people. And I think we can do that, which would bring more funding so that it doesn't fall on just one or two people, but we have groups of people that are amazed by the work that we do. And we show the data that we have that is amazing, but we also show data where we're impacting student outcomes, right? It all goes back to making sure that we do what's best for kids. And I think we've heard from so many of these young people and their leader that this is the work that we're supposed to do, and we're called to do it, and we're committed to it. But how do we get that out so people can see it? So I'm sitting here thinking about this man who's giving now millions of dollars to the jazz just based on seeing this teacher teaching these young people about jazz. And I'm thinking, we had so many opportunities today where they can just stand up and talk about their experiences and the amazing teachers that they had that sparked that interest in them, that made them change their lives. I think that's one of the biggest ways we're going to get this done, because now we got to look everywhere for money. And as Emily said, we are in the middle of a huge budget cut, and we are all scratching our heads because we're like, what else we gonna cut? Just, here, take my feet and legs, because everything else is pretty much gone now, right? And still be able to produce good things for kids. So I think we're in a good space. This is amazing. The kids, hearing these young people talk, just gave me a whole nother level of energy. And I think if we get them in the room with some other people, we can get a whole bunch of money. Yes, you heard what I said. Prepare your elevator speeches.
Thank you guys for weighing in. And as an employer in our community, this is exactly what I would love to hear, what we need to really build together and build that message and build all that collateral and be out in front of as many people. It is workforce development. It's the future of employment in our community. And so when we see the investment in educators who are going to bring that workforce forward, that is huge for folks like me. And I know we need to unlock some of those funding sources from the blue chippers and the corporate community that are very generous in a lot of ways. But in a way, they almost kind of feel like, oh, that's kind of the school system, and that they kind of got that, and that's their own budget struggles, and they'll figure it out. Even the report, I think, in Cincinnati recently, that broad report where it was talking about every aspect of the community development, whether it's housing or transportation, they basically said, oh yeah, education, we'll kind of put that off to the side, and everybody will kind of figure that out. That's not cool, right? That's an underpinning to our community. So this is one of those points in this moment where we can bridge that, I believe. So Dr. Smith and Emily, thank you for weighing in on that. We want to take you up on that and try to create that collateral that travels outside of your board meetings and outside of the traditional pathways. So this is now considered a community requirement to support education. So we will definitely take you up on just building that. Question? Sure, this is great.
Sorry, I just wanted to chime in on what you said, that how corporations kind of leave the education to the side. I go to TEACh, and right next to our school is the giant TEACh stadium. So and thankfully they let our seniors go and work over there, but it's kind of hard trying to be at school and you got a stadium right next to you preparing for the game at 5 o'clock, but we don't got to 3 o'clock.
So it's thinking about being good neighbors is what you're thinking about the neighborhood that's around you in the school and all the rhythms of your life. I think there's a lot of folks that, sometimes, and I think FCC does actually a really good job of trying to engage the community, but you have to do more. And you have to realize the ripple effects of not thinking about those small things that you mentioned, just being good neighbors and including students and schools in the daily rhythms of how your business operates. Can't be separate. You can't be a bloodthirsty capitalist anymore. You have to think about what you're doing with and for your community. So I think the messaging there is fantastic.
I just want to add to that as well with TEACh. Going to TEACh for one of the lunch and learns that we actually did, I hadn't been in TEACh in a long time since high school. So seeing the stadium next to it, actually, it made me think about a lot of stuff like deeper than just the stadium being next to the school and hearing the noise, right? When you walk into the lunchroom, that's what you see. You can't see the outside anymore. You see the stadium next to it.
And so then you think about how much time a student spends in the classroom, and like to what degree do they get to go outside anymore? We don't have recess anymore. We're in high school, right? And so then the little sunshine that they do get is covered by a stadium that like it's not there for their benefit. And like I was there whenever the other one got closed down, and so like that's been a part of a lot of the students coming in, their experience, especially coming from TEACh. That's harder to be in the school because you have that next to it, you have that noise, you have the when you go into lunchroom, you don't have that space where you can look outside or go outside and be outside because that's right next to it. I was just thinking about that, like sometimes it's a little deeper than like just hearing it. Seeing it is discouraging. Like, what are they gonna do next because they already took down our stadium? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because a lot with the stadium, we can't really. A lot, especially when we have the stadium right there, is that it's hard to actually like work in class because you constantly got the people out there like talking or working on the stadium. And even with, they thankfully let us host prom there, but even then it's kind of weird with that because we're not like, with them being right next to us, you'll think they'll let us go down on the field, have a little more privilege because like y'all just took our old stadium from us, so to give us this thing that you barely let us use, like least you can do is let us go on the field and take a picture or two, but they don't. And it's just disappointing to see because it's like, well, if the school gave up the parking lot for extra money and we're not seeing the money, yet it goes to yonder pouches, which got broken like 2 weeks, so it was basically a waste. It's kind of like we're getting this money, but we're not using it on the right things, and now we got a stadium that we don't like, and it's just really annoying to see right there.
I think that's a good point right there when you said it's annoying. As we think of TEACh and being, as you guys become future educators and what that looks like, as you step into the classroom, how do you continue to be advocates, good neighbors, and what does that look like? I'd love to hear from some of the current students and anyone else that would like to share.
It's like no, but one way I show it is by just being a leader, because oh gosh, this is a lot, but like just being a leader, like growing up, I always lived in, I guess you could say, like a poverty neighborhood. So, and I had stuff that's going on in like my neighborhood, my life. So I had to grow up and mature a lot faster. So what that looked like for me right now in high school, or was in high school, if I saw like a classmate that was like procrastinating, I help them. I get like their number and make sure like they on top of their work. Like this year, I had a friend, her name is Loren. She went from having edgenuity for like, she had edgenuity for like 2 years or something like that. And then as soon as this year hit, she started getting discouraged. So it was like, that ain't nothing but more pressure. Like, just knock that out. Like, that's nothing to do. I can help you. I was just telling her. And just encouraging people. Like when you see TEACh is, you would think TEACh is just all about fighting. Like, we like a real community. Like how like people was talking about community earlier in here. Like TEACh is like a real community. We had a friend. My friend passed away. He got shot 2 years ago. He used to do, we both did track. We did track and basketball together. And then when he died, it was just like it was like a lot. It was like a stab in the heart. So our media center. You've been to our media center. So like our media center, we had social, what is this? It's not social workers. What is it? The people that talk. Guidance counselors. We had guidance counselors in there, and we had guidance counselors. We had notebooks so they could like write out their feelings. We had big poster boards where we would like long live more, and then we'll just like write all of our names. And then this year, we had some friends make a sash. We had some friends make a sash, and he got his diploma. We had his family come up to TEACh and receive his graduation soul and everything. And it was just like, that was cool. Like, I don't know, just looking out for others, making sure they good, and keep going.
I'd say like try to like start stuff. So I kind of started our yearbook to give our school some type of hope that like maybe maybe one day like we'll finally have change and be like all those other high schools. Like we compare ourselves a lot to Hughes. We don't like them, but we compare ourselves to them. Because when you see their school, they got all the like the senior activities with the sunrise and sunset. So I like try my best to like do it and get it started for our school to give us like some type of hope. But it's really hard to have a community when we go to a school that it's already kind of tense because of the principals and vice principals who think they have so much authority, which they do, but they just go very overboard with it. So it's kind of like we can't have community because the adults who's trying to lead us, well, they're kind of leading us in a bad way where it's like we don't want to be led. And also with the thing about Mar, the one who died, he had his own page in the yearbook, and like that was the first time I've ever seen TEACh like come together for something. Like it really like shook us when it had happened because it was like something that was so unexpected. And I think that was what the next day that was the most empty our school had ever been because it was just something that like really happened and like just really took us all apart. I didn't really know him that well. But like when I did see him, like it was like, oh my goodness, you know who he was. So it was very hard for us. And even though we all didn't like each other, you knew we all kind of felt something for each other. Like whether we didn't like each other, and whether I didn't know Mar, but it was like, wow, like this was somebody I was supposed to graduate with, and now he not here anymore.
So as a future educator, I work at my elementary school. My elementary school is a charter school. So seeing the difference between a charter school and a public school in that environment, I feel like it's easier as an assistant teacher to kind of advocate for my students, but then it's a little hard too because I work with the mentor teacher and I can't really go up to her and say, hey, I don't think you should be teaching this way. But I think sometimes I take into consideration how she teaches and how I would teach it differently. And then also being an assistant teacher, being able to be in the classroom with her and like pull aside some of the students who don't understand the way she's teaching it. And I'm like, okay, let me try to explain it a different way. And then the moment they understand it and they have that aha moment, I'm like, okay, this is like why I got into teaching, and this is like another way I can advocate for students, is just making sure they understand what's being taught to them in ways that their teacher might not teach it to them, you know? So I feel like that's really important as future educators, is taking into consideration the amount of disparities that are going to be in a classroom, like based on way different demographics, their personal demographics, yes, but also their educational demographics and how they were all taught and how they're being taught differently now. Thank you. Any other questions?
Just real quick, I just wanted to add to Krystal's question, just from a perspective of now that I'm no longer a student, but I'm working with students who are going into education. And something I've learned is that although they've all come from Cincinnati public schools, they've all had very different experiences. So I feel like not putting students all in one pot, not putting people all in one pot, even though they come from an environment that's considered to be an urban community. Like you never know what someone's really experienced or what their hardships lie until you actually have those conversations and sit down and learn more about them. So I feel like, especially in the classroom, like when y'all have your students, it's important to get to know who they are, even if how they're presenting themselves to be, you might feel like that's enough to get to know them. But even sometimes, like Demetria shared, how she presented herself to be that first meeting is not actually who she is, right? So that's something I also had to learn. And sometimes it's just like an onion, peel the layers back to get to know somebody for who they really are and best support them in the ways that work. So, yeah.
I would say
I think that it's a lot easier to advocate for something if you care about it. And hopefully education should matter to everybody in here. And so like, I think that especially in like a college setting, just, it's gonna keep changing. It's changed a lot right now. I think just thinking about ways that you can still do what you want to do and still see the values that you care about happening in your classroom. Finding a way to do that without it being like illegal, I guess, if that makes sense. Like I'm talking about like DEI and stuff like that. I don't even know if I can say that. Can I say that? Okay. Like, yeah, so just like, I was specifically referring to that, honestly, like being able to like talk about equity and those being things you want to push for in your classroom. Being able to, I've been hearing the phrase a lot, teach through the cracks. Being able to work around the laws that are put in place to make it so that you cannot say what you would like to say. I think just thinking about that right now while you're in college or while you're in high school, how you can be better about stuff like that. Since you aren't a teacher yet, you're going to be teaching, and I'm sure things are going to change a lot more before I actually get into a classroom. So just being mindful of that, making sure that I'm up to date and I'm paying attention to how the things that are happening in the world right now impact education and my future in general. I think another way to advocate for education would be to take the lessons that you see in your classrooms and when you see in field, especially, and hold on to those experiences, hold on to those observations. I had recently had an observation this past semester, and it was really hard because it was for the entire semester that I went to this school, but I saw a lot of things that irritated me. I saw a lot of things that I thought were really, really bad and things that I wouldn't want to do, and I'm very grateful for that experience. I for sure was like, no, I won't work in a rural area. That was like my opinion when I first got in there. Like I was like, I will never, ever, ever work in the middle of nowhere. Like that just won't happen. But now I think that I would be okay if that's where I ended up. I think that's something to be mindful of as well. We all want to work in an urban area, but also there's students who need us in other schools. And I didn't think about that initially. I wasn't focused on the fact that there are kids in this room who are struggling, who may need help. Like I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking about myself. I was more so thinking about like, well, I think education is being done bad here, so I'm not going to work here. But I think that it's very important to still work in those spaces that are bad because those students need you. It's not about you at that point, and I had to realize that it's not about me. It's not about what I'm comfortable with. I can deal with being uncomfortable if that makes that child's day better. I can deal with not liking my coworker if that makes the child's day better. You know, like I can deal with that because I'm the teacher. I'm the educator. I'm the one that wants to see the classroom change, and so I can take that step and I can be uncomfortable and do all the harder work and the arguing and stuff like that behind closed doors and make sure that education still looks like education for those students, even though a lot of people don't want it to. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like advocating for yourself is like standing firm in your beliefs and not wavering on them, and also acknowledging that you're not the best version of yourself yet. So I feel like you definitely have to push to keep going. And I feel like as like me going into education, I definitely feel as if like I know I'm not the best version of myself yet, and I keep pushing myself to want to be there so I can, like, the children that I work with are impacted by, like, my changes. But I also feel like with a lot that's going, like, the things that are going on in, like, certain, like, political climates, as well as, like, states of, like, school districts and stuff, and as we know, like, CPS is not one of the greatest school districts when it comes to certain things, but CPS is also really great at like kind of pushing us in the right direction, whether it's what we want to do, like work, or we want to go to the military, or if we want to go to college. I feel like there's
all types of different avenues, but I feel like you can't really understand or grasp what avenue that you want to do unless like you take the time to advocate for yourself. Because you can get pushed in a million different directions, but I mean, if you get pushed in the wrong one, then what are you gonna do? Like, you've kind of put yourself in that predicament. So I feel like advocating for yourself is all about digging yourself out of tough predicaments and standing firm on what you want. Yeah.
First of all, thank you guys. That was amazing. And I think one of our earlier questions was, what's unique about this program? And I think we just heard it 5 or 6 different times. So thank you. I think it just goes to show when we're going to be your translators to the folks who are going to help fund and protect your journeys and move this through and allow everyone else to join you guys behind you. You're going to have classes 2, 3, 4 years behind you guys, and it'll happen in an instant. What you guys just shared offers us the collateral and the content and the voice to go and magnify that to everyone who we can shake loose as a potential sponsor of the program. So thank you very much for that. None of what you shared about Taft is going to go on deaf ears either. I mean, that just the experience of the physical shadow of the stadium that you guys are having to work through and everything that's gone on there, what you shared about your friend, all of that has to be taken into consideration for everybody who feels like they can't just be a spectator in your success. They have to be a participant. So I'll stop preaching there, but all of that, everything you guys just shared is really impactful, and that arms us to be better advocates for you guys.
I was just going to say, highlighting Dr. Smith, like how many of us, my lungs are filled like with excitement and hope because of everything I've heard today, and we need to bring that forward. But more importantly, Toyan, am I saying that right? He said, let's take action. And our action, even if you're still in high school or connections with the high schools or at Miami or our own business communities, families, communities, to take action, how many people can you talk to? How many people can you interest in this story? Because we are at a crucial time where it's a great program and we don't have all the stats yet, but we have got to believe that those stats will be there in the next few years when you guys are back at CPS. So we have all got to really firmly believe that this will happen.
Any other thoughts from the panel? I don't know if I was getting the time wave from Brian, but consider us on your team. If you leave nothing else, we're your teammates. You know, if these guys know how to get a hold of all of us, and if there's something you need or something that the community needs to hear about what you're experiencing or something really cool that you've uncovered as part of the journey, let us know. We will amplify your voice. That's why we're here. As funders or just community members, consider us a bigger part of your TEACh team. We're proud to be there.